Welcome back to States and Kingdoms. Today we're talking about Mr. Partridge. Take away. Mr. Partridge, of course, is Andy Partridge of XTC.
Ah.
Yeah. And something else.
I knew it sounded familiar.
Something else you didn't know. This album is all reworkings of XTC songs. You should watch some of our videos because we've done a lot of them about XTC.
No, I edit them with my eyes closed. I think everyone knows that. Holding my nose and with my eyes closed, I just edit them.
This is a really popular album.
Okay. Let me just take over here. Let's get professional.
I did my best. XTC hadn't been putting out albums for that long. You know, you're talking about a relatively young, new band, and here comes Mr. Partridge, and he's like, I'm going to take some of our songs and not really remix them, but essentially, you know, redo them in a weird style, you know, and you're going to release it on Virgin Records. No big deal.
You know, I was trying to think of another musician who had done something like this. Because these are you could consider these almost like abstractions of XTC songs. Yeah. Musical abstractions. It's very unusual. It's very interesting. It's what you'd expect Andy Partridge to do, really. It's completely his own thing.
Yeah.
Someone that listens to dub music. Well, that's really not me. But someone that does. I mean, I'm not sure if they would like this or not. This is something completely
it feels
his own.
Way more atmospheric.
Oh, no, yeah.
Borderline electronic.
We could talk about that a little bit. But I was trying to think of another artist that has done something like this. Like, who would do like a cubist version of their own songs? It's
very unique.
The only person I could think of immediately is someone like Beck, who has done remixes, but that's still, he does it in his own way.
Yeah, like Guero and Guerolito.
Yeah.
But they're not, it's not like this.
I'd love to know, actually, because maybe someone could think of something, but I have not, just thinking about it before filming, I have not been able to think of anything.
No. It's very experimental.
Consequently, this album immediately strikes you as kind of strange. I mean, even if you know the songs that he's basing these on, or you don't, it actually really doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't really matter.
I mean, if you're an XTC person and you know XTC pretty well, some of them they'll get you right away. You'll recognize it right away. Others are a little bit more like hidden.
Yeah, layered. It's not necessarily for the enjoyment of it. It makes it more interesting if you know the songs that he's redoing.
Right.
So something like, you know, The Rotary is very obvious as a reimagining of Helicopter.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I think upon first listen, I don't want to say abrasive. I want to say abrasive.
It does strike you as rather strange.
It's a little abrasive. Just in the sense that, you know, he's making some weird noises with his mouth, and you know, some of it's a little disjointed and
the songs
angular.
The songs are all fairly different. I mean, this isn't like a long-standing favorite of ours. We just found this fairly recently. I had not heard this.
Yeah, so it's rare because usually we're talking about stuff that we've been listening to for years.
So this is sort of like a reaction.
That's good. That was really good. We're very cool.
Listening to the first time, you know, it's like, okay, there's a lot there. There's actually quite a bit there. You hear, you know, elements of songs. It's amazing how this sinks in.
Yeah.
I think this album really, after listening to it, I mean, say 3 or 4 times. It's not very long, really. Yeah. So it's not like that, you know, it's like listening to A Melancholy and Infinite Sadness 3 or 4 times.
I've still never listened to that whole thing.
No, I'm not done with it yet. It's been like 30 years. You know, it's amazing how it really starts to sink in, and you really do learn its nuances. You have everything you'd expect from Andy Partridge.
That's what I was going to say.
You do. You really do.
I was just going to say that knowing Andy Partridge as well as I do, because we're close, this isn't a surprise. This is as expected. You know, I expected it to sound exactly the way it sounds.
The dub thing is like a starting point for him, because ultimately it's unlike any dub type music. Really,
Yeah,
I've heard.
is pretty minimal.
It's a starting point. He, does what he wants to do past that.
Its dubness is dubious.
You have things like, I mean, in the version of Helicopter, you have
Oh, helly.
you have a real Captain Beefheart thing on the guitar going on. There's I don't want to boil it down in such a, because it's more than that. It's not that cut and dry.
It's definitely not. It's not simple.
But you do have all of the elements that make up what he did in XTC, but in such an interesting recipe. It's hard to. We're not playing it here. I can hum it. All right. It's not humming.
No. Well, I was accompanying you.
I would recommend it if anyone, and it's not. I'm not going to presume that anyone hasn't heard this, but it's not the most heard thing in the world. I
don't know if it was terribly well received when it was released either. In the States or in England, I think it kind of went under the radar.
But I would definitely recommend anyone listen to this. There's so much music coming through this fellow.
Yes.
I was thinking before, it's really interesting when you have someone like that, and it's not like Andy Partridge was lazy, because when you look at the output of XTC in the late 70s and 80s,
they did fine.
They were putting out quite a few things, and in the Dukes of Stratosphere, and to go along with XTC's output, and it's like
they were busy.
and yet you really always with talents like that, you just want more. It's like
Give it all.
You always tend to well, you could have done more. They could have it's too bad they didn't do that. It's like you already have it's like all this stuff. I mean, you do
they gave us a lot.
Brian Wilson, I mean a number of people.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how prolific he really was. It's like he took some time off and did this pretty quickly.
I think the album is pretty ballsy, considering
Well, that is a feature.
He is pretty ballsy.
A feature of Andy
But
Partridge.
no, really. But putting this album, in the timeline of all of XTC,
also wanting it to be released
as an XTC album,
I love
very
that.
Funny. Yeah.
That's pretty great.
When you read about this album, it's almost unanimously listed as dub. So I think that's interesting though, because it comes off as electronic music to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have a pretty good history of listening to electronic music. I mean, we grew up listening to a lot of different things in that arena. That's how this sounds to me.
Yeah,
Much
I
more
would agree.
leaning in the avant-garde electronic
There's
kind of thing.
What's interesting about the songs that really veer into sounding like a soundtrack, they're songs that almost are that have a spoken word that you could almost see going into
like a scene.
Well, something like, I mean, this is, I mean, it's nothing like this, but that I used to listen to Stephen Jesse Bernstein's No No Man.
Yeah.
They're like that kind of jazzy spoken word, music that you could almost see it veering off in this direction or veering into this, very soundtrack, very moody.
Yeah.
Then you have, more bouncy.
I am buoyant.
Or disjointed versions of XTC.
Yeah.
It's pretty extraordinary.
It's like a cut up. It's a little bit like a cut up.
I mean, it's really something.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Like I said, I mean, it's almost like it is almost like a cubist version of XTC. You have XTC from all these different angles, and it does reveal, I think, a lot about Andy Partridge as a songwriter, where he's coming from, his influences, and just how he makes use of them.
Yeah.
Which is really fascinating.
He's such an interesting guy. I mean, I'm glad that we have this. And we should definitely talk about a lot more of his solo stuff and
Well, it's
other
unfortunate.
projects he's done.
I mean, he didn't really do another solo thing like this for, was it 13 years? And I mean, it's obviously not him alone, and you've had that for years and years and years.
Yes.
And that is, I mean, you know, more ambient, and I was quite different. But yeah, I mean, he didn't, he was busy with XTC, obviously, but...
He's doing puppet shows. He's making
right.
board games.
Yeah, how long did he
he's
take on that? How long did he take on that puppet show?
Comic books, and he's taking walks in his garden.
I feel like that puppet show really took a long time.
That definitely took a long time. It was very funny.
He could have at least turned out another one of these in that.
Yeah,
that
nothing like
time.
that is easy. Puppet shows are not easy. You know, the cover is all Jane Mansfield's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's like a park of Jay Mansfield's. The J. Mansfield Park.
Oh my god. I love the cover. I truly do.
All of XTC's covers are awesome.
But this especially, something about it, maybe because I know he's English, you know, in the pool is like a real David Hockney feel for me.
Oh yeah, it's definitely pop art kind of thing going on there.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think of this album, if you think of this album. In the comments below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to States and Kingdoms, and we'll see you next time.